Ayan na, ayan na, ayan na. Kamusta naman kayo diyan mga kameta? Nahabol na naman natin 'to kahit papaano. Ah, ang daming mga nangyayari sa mundo. I don't know where to, yun nga, 24/7 may mga developments. Hindi na natin alam ano naman ang next na bansa na aawayin ni Tatay Trump. Ayan, shoutout naman diyan sa mga kamaga Pinoy naman natin diyan, mga fans ni tatay nung kabila. Yun ang talagang hindi ko maintindihan, maraming gano'n, meron yung anti-Tatay Digong pero pro-tatay ang Trump, ta's meron yung anti-Tatay Trump pero pro-Tatay Digong, ta's meron pa yung mga interesting 'di ba? Tapos meron, I don't know, it's a complicated issue but I don't wanna go there. But anyway, ang sinasabi ko is while we're covering everything, as you can see, meron din tayong video explainer about the Greenland situation and what's at stake. Ayan, inedit-edit din natin 'yan over the weekend, and also we took some of the footages, not only from media, but also some of the footages from our own visit to, Greenland, Kangerlussuaq the other year, and also, of course, based on also some of the exchanges and conversation with policymakers and experts who know a thing or two about the dynamics between Denmark and Greenland, and also now also the US coming in. So basically, guys, from Caracas to Copenhagen, ayan na, lahat na, ang daming mga kababalaghan na nangyari. Pero of course, 'wag natin kalimutan yung ating minamahal na bansa, Pilipinas. Here we go, booyakasha, guys. Eto na, nasa exciting na part na ba tayo, guys? Officially, meron na tayong yes, talagang nasa para sa bayan. Mukhang, hindi na safe 'tong dalawa na 'to. Katulad ng pinag-usapan natin nung isang araw with Attorney Conti, mukhang malabo na makaalis sa ICC yung isa unless some even crazier extra circumstances. At eto na naman, nahuli na naman ang, diyan mga kabututs natin diyan. Kamusta naman kayo diyan? So here we are. Um, as expected, we are expected, to see 'di pa ako nag-lunch mo medyo hindi umaandar ang energy level natin. Usually I get away with it 'no, kahit gutom ako and all, sige go lang ako ng go. Siguro naubos lang ang aking energy kanina, medyo complicated in discussion about international law kanina. But anyway, balikan natin 'to guys. Ganito, as you have seen dun sa iba't ibang mga interviews natin, whether it's Justice Carpio, whether it's Attorney Dina De Leon, whether it's Attorney Cristina Conti, whether, also the different experts, isa lang sasabihin nila sa inyo na hindi talaga, realistic yung initial expectation na within 2-3 months, makukulong yung mga sangkot sa flood control, especially, and this is where I wanna put, tuldukan natin ito, especially 'pag ang pinag-usapan dito ay medyo malalaking tao, 'di ba? Biglang tumataas ang kilay ko, 'di ba? Um, 'yan, tumataas ang kilay ko, 'yan. And that is why, so far, no surprise na yung mga allegedly sangkot, di umano by the way, shout out sa di umano Facebook page all, na ano na rin tayo, na-feature na rin tayo sa di umano dun sa ating, picture with na-realize ko lang isang araw, actually hindi lang pala si ano 'no, hindi lang pala si Attorney Lenny, si Senator Risa, tsaka si Senator De Lima, Congressman De Lima nandun. Andun rin pala sa likod pala ano 'no, interestingly, na-notice ko lang nung isang araw, oo nga pala sa likod pala is Kiko and ano 'no, Kiko and Bam were exactly sa likod. Imagine the timing, guys. As in, eto yung wedding ng kasama natin sa Attorney Dina De Leon. Of course, shoutout naman diyan to Attorney Dina De Leon's better half. Eto biglang na-realize ko, oo nga pala sila Bam pala yan, nasugatan lang ako. Oo pala sila Bam and Kiko yung nasa likod. I mean, imagine the timing, guys. Like, I just walked in there, then nakita ko yung tatlo, tapos ko, "Ma'am, picture tayo." Tapos picture silang tatlo. Actually, si Congressman De Lima ang unang nakapansin sa'kin, like, "Hi, chommy-chommy." Tapos nakita ko si Senator Riza, tapos andiyan din si Bibi Lenny, and then by some chance, si Bam pala tsaka Kiko nasa likod. So, talagang mati-trigger yung mga ka-DDS natin nung pinost natin itong picture na ito. Of course, throwback yan from the other year pa. But interestingly, speaking of Attorney Dini De Leon, may pinost din siyang picture na parang may ganon din ng vibes. Pero yung sa kanya talagang next level insider. Siyempre mahalaga si Dino. Hindi naman katulad natin ng mga nasa tabi-tabi lang tayo nag-live broadcast dito. Baka mamaya pwede natin pag-usapan yun. But this is the interesting situation we're looking at. So, ayun, nga pala si Bam yan. Ang payat ni Bam doon. Nasa sobrang payat ni Bam, di ko siya napansin. Tapos si Kiko pala yan. I mean, imagine like just one shot, boom, andyan silang lahat. Like, what were the chances na all of them will be in one frame? Yung mga iba na sabi niya, what about General Torre? Hindi pa sila kasama sa wedding niya nung time na yan, alright? Etc. But as far as all of the interesting people were concerned, lahat sila nasa frame na yan. And it was like totally by chance. I didn't even notice si Bam and Kiko pala yung nasa likod. So it's fascinating, it's interesting. So thank you so much sa lahat ng mga trolls na kawawa naman dahil hindi kayo mga comment. Hindi ban po mag-comment. Nilagay ko lang, pwede lang kayo mag-comment kung followers talaga kayo, legit kayo. Kung fake kayo, troll kayo, bot kayo, hindi talaga kayo mga-comment. So, okay iyak at pupunta dyan sa Attorney Gina Epal na nagpapalaying na imagine mo yung Attorney Gucci na yan. Ba't iba naman yung ini-issue niya? So, ang ginagawa nila, ini-emoji nila, di ba? Emoji nila, ayan, may 8,000 laughter emoji. Pero may 4,000 hearts, which obviously is legit, 5,000 likes, which obviously legit. Etong 8,000.5, tingnan niyo guys yung mga profile. Sobrang obvious na Jopix yung mga profile, 'di ba? Gracia, Ronnie, yan. Glilora Nilbud. I mean, looks very legit, right? Ito obvious ang mga troll farms na yung mga nag-emoji. But hindi niyo ba na-gets? Actually, hindi tayo nabubuli sa ganun. Natutuwa tayo na tumataas lang yung engagement natin. Hindi lang nag-gets sa mga trolls yan. Hindi tayo go ahead, troll. Pataasin ang engagement yan. Magto-20,000 na yan. Ay, hindi, wag naman yung trolling kasama dyan ng electricity natin. So thank you. Tuloy, hindi lang di umano kung lahat ng mga nagre-respond doon. But balikan natin guys itong issue na to, hindi ako rage baiter legit lang yan ginagawa ko. Eto, balikan natin itong mga ka-DDS natin, mga talagang mga kampiyon ng good governance and good leadership natin, kasama natin dyan. Now, going back to this, sabi ko nga, realistically talaga, when it comes to dun sa mga medyo, tumataas na naman kilay natin, medyo may kapangyarihan, medyo nasa position or literal nasa position, you need a much more airtight case dahil alam na natin. But, so far, yung mga hindi nasa poder or at least nasa political position katulad ni, to be honest, si Diskaya, 'di ba? To be honest, iba talaga yung British accent niya eh. Hindi ko kaya kahit Oxford lang tayo, hindi ko kaya talaga yung accent. To be honest. Nakita niyo guys yung kay Diskaya na meron siyang yung dinadala na siya sa hindi Muntinlupa dun sa sa preso tapos meron parang parang behind the scenes interview tas may taga GMA Network ay mga dating kapuso natin. Biglang English speaking, Biglang English speaking para tapos biglang hindi lang English speaking. English as in literally British. To be honest, kulang na lang pag-usapan niya yung kanyang schedule. Ayan, okay, tsaka yung kanyang mga concern with military. Ayan, so walang surprise. Although even that one was a bit tricky kasi sa kapalmok sa mga involved dito sa kababalagan na yan, imagine mo humingi pa sila ng break time ng holidays, yung mga yan. At sa kapalmok sa mga yan, nag-iibang nag-change tone pa yung iba. At sa kapalmok ng iba dyan, biglang, ay, ibalik nyo kami sa ganito, ganyan. But yun nga, I think, given the lay of the land, alam naman natin yung kalagayan sa ating bansa when it comes to the degree of rule of law. Kasi ganito yan depende sa level of state capacity, rule of law development. Meron kang parang may band may parang may spectrum. So, kung nasa ganitong level ka lang ng development sa rule of law or absence of law, Eto maximum na puwede mong expect, eto yung minimum. So yung minimum yun ang nakuha natin nung panahon ni yung dating figurine na ombudsman na ano na di umano tuta ng dating ano, di umano, wala akong sinasabi. Pero at the same time, yes, pumalit ang ombudsman, pero kung structurally yung bansa mo ay nasa baba pa rin dun sa rule of law, I'm sure there are different indices we can look at. In fact, some of the indices na tinitignan ko ngayon is state capacity, state capture, yung mga corruption-related indices. So may mga different index tayo na mine-measure yung mga iba't ibang dimension para kunyari puwede natin tignan kung isang bansa ay mahina yung gobyerno, corrupt ang gobyerno, et cetera, oligarchic pa yung system, gano'n. Meron din tayong mga ganitong indices relevant sa rule of law. So, sabihin natin ang Pilipinas, sabihin natin somewhere, let's say 5 out of 10. So, basically ang range mo is between 0 and 5. So, sabihin natin dating ang ombudsman 0 or -1, and then ngayon ang pinaka-maximum na expect mo ganito kasi structurally nandito pa lang tayo sa level ng development when it comes to the rule of law. In fact, kung nagbasa kayo ng mga libro katulad ni Francis Fukuyama's book, Origins of Political Order at saka Political Order, Political Decay, 2-volume book yan. Mga 2,000, 3,000 page, 2,200 pages lang ba? Combine yung dalawang volume. No? I mean, basically, ang point niya is, meron kang elections, yun yung parang manifestation ng demokrasya sa atin. Meron kang birokrasya, diyan nakikita mo yung kapasidad ng estado, kung kaya niya mag-implement ng ganito. And then, separate pa yung rule of law. Diyan kasama yung justice system. Na hindi lang judiciary, kasama yung DOJ, kasama yung ombudsman, kasama yung sandigan bayan, etc. So, hiniwalay niya yung tatlo na yan, drawing on theories of Huntington about state and modernization, no? So, yung rule of law na yan, pwede mo rin ano yan pwede mo i-assess yan. At I think realistically, ang Pilipinas, siguro sabihin natin 5 out of 10 tayo in terms of rule of law, or 6 out of 10 maximum. No, globally, if we have relevant indices. So, but within that 5 out of 10, pwede kang mag-0, pwede kang mag-5. So, given that situation, guys, to be honest, and with all due respect, and I think the current ombudsman, in fairness naman, shout out naman, mukhang may ginagawa naman, within the parameters of possibility, kumbaga yung concept sa economics is production possibility frontier. So you can make a graph, ito yung maximum na kaya i-produce ng isang bansa given the resources and endowments it has, diba? So may graph kang ganyan, supply, demand, tapos production. Parang ganun din yun. Or at least ganun ang basa ko when it comes to matters of rule of law. So given the rule of law production possibility frontier, ang nagko-combine ako ng mga different concepts dito, I think it was realistic na unang-una makikita mo yung mga pinaka-hated and pinakawala sa poder ang mauna or uunahin to put it more correctly, pagdating dito sa issue ng accountability, no? So hindi ako surprised na so far, you have one Diskaya at least, and then now you have isang tao na once upon a time nag-number 1. By the way, dun sa mga nagwawala dahil, biglang na-realize nila, oh my goodness, sa sobrang malala yung kalagayan ng ating demokrasya, yung isang katulad ni Robin Hood Padilla na obviously I mean, he's a good guy, I'm sure, but like as far as yung skills na relevant sa Senate, isang tao katulad niya na fill in the blank, when it comes to competence ay nag-number 1. Well, wag niyong kalimutan, if I'm not mistaken, 2010 nag-number 1 si Bong Revilla, dun sa Senate race, if I'm not mistaken. So, this is someone who just over a decade ago, hindi ako magtataka kung naisip niya, "Uy, parang puwede rin ako maging presidente," 'di ba? So, and then of course, by some chance, fortuitously, naging presidente natin si Pinoy na hindi obviously perfect. You can go everything I've said about its shortcomings, but at least naman try to do something about corruption. So doon biglang nadali si Jinggoy, nadali si Enrile, nadali ito si Bong Revilla. But si Bong Revilla, kumbaga, even though nanalo siya ulit nung 2019, you could clearly see by 2025, wala na siya hindi na, yung mga budots niya hindi na obra. At literally, hindi umubra yung budots niya, talo siya. So, in a way, parang you can logically understand what's going on. I'm sure you can legally explain this, but you can also explain it given the fact na, for the lack of better term, ang pinag-usapan natin dito is relatively low-hanging fruit to, mga to. So for me, as the Chinese say, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step, and the first step is big step. And in a way, in fairness naman, let's give credit where credit is due. Kasi kung Digong ang presidente mo or Sara or whatever, malabo na magkakaroon ng any kind of admission, forget about, uh, opening investigation or whatever sa issue ng corruption and all. Alam natin ang daming corruption scandal ng panahon ni Digong, and yet we never saw any real admission, even if sabi ni Digong, even a whiff of corruption, ganun. And yet, alam natin ang daming kababalagan na nangyari ng panahon niya. Alam natin mga Diskaya, yung ligaya nila nagsimula ng panahon ni Digong, 2016-17, doon sila nag-big time. Alam natin maraming mga flood control ng kababalagan nagsimula ng panahon ni Digong. So, yes, I'm giving credit where credit is due kasi ayan na, magagalit naman yung mga loyals. What kayo unfair? Ganun. Yeah, compared kay Digong, BBM is so much better. Of course, given yan. But, hindi naman tayo pwede na ganun lang standards natin. Napakababa man naman ng standards natin kung si Digong lang standard natin, di ba? Um, Hindi ko na alam dun sa iba. Pero, balikan natin to. So guys, sa isang banda, of course, there's some encouraging signs. And pwede mo sabihin, at least may momentum na. Yes, growth pains, katulad nung sinasabi ng iba. Yes, difficult steps. Huwag natin kalimutan, hindi naman sablay, pero medyo hindi rin gumana yung good governance daan matuwid ni Pinoy, kaya nga nagkaroon ng backlash. Mahabang usapan yan, alam ko marami sa ating mga kaibigan na, especially mga kaibigan natin na dilaw. I'm not gonna use the word dilawan. When I say dilaw, ito yung mga tao na genuinely, sincerely naniwala dun sa daan matuwid. At hanggang ngayon, nakikita natin yun ang kanilang adhikain. All respect sa mga tao na yan, even if may mga disagreement tayo sa ibang issue na yan. But, you know, um, the reality is, yung daan matuwid ni Pinoy was not, at least perceived, and I would say was not operationalized sufficiently. Was not operationalized sufficiently, or at least, uh, may kakulangan sa parte ng administrasyon at tignan niyo yung mga interviews natin with Secretary Ronald Llamas, ni-raise ko yan kasi siyempre secretary niya si Ronald, eh. So sinabi ko, "Sir Ronald, ganito, ganyan." Even si Ronald, ay aminin niya na nagkakulang talaga yung admin nila, including dito sa issue ng, good governance. At saka wag natin kalimutan yung interviews din natin with Justice Carpio, because si Justice Carpio back then sa Supreme Court siya at na-strike down niya ah, yung, disbursement acceleration program, yung DAP program na medyo suspicious. And again, with all due respect dun sa mga ibang kaibigan natin na dilaw, hindi dilawan na, dilaw, meaning sincerely naniwala, nag-invest, nag-commit dun sa mga reforma na matino, including sa budget, etc. Let's be honest, guys, hindi ganun ka, sabihin natin, fully reassuring yung daan matuwid as it happened. Hindi yung konsepto, hindi yung blueprint, pero as it happened. Anyway, my point is, nevertheless, it was a step in the right direction. And yun din ang sasabihin ko ngayon. It is a step in the right direction. Kaya nga sabi ko, perspective matters, eh. Kaya nga sinasabi ng mga doktor, sinasabi ng mga eksperto, 'pag panahon ng mga krisis, perfection is the enemy of the good. 'Pag mag-expect ka ng perfection, tapos obviously hindi mangyayari yan, ta's madi-disappoint ka, and then next thing you know, you will jump from the frying pan to the fire, 'di ba? Yun ang nangyayari parati sa atin, eh. So meron tayong mga medyo matinong tao, mangako sila na ganito, ganyan. Obviously alam naman natin hindi puwedeng mangyari 10 out of 10. And then ma-disappoint ang tao, and then next thing you know, magpapabudol na lang sila sa iba, and there we are, here we are, right? So kaya nga sabi ko, expectation management napakamahalaga talaga yan sa politika, eh. Anyways, at saka of course, aminin mo rin kung nagkakulang ka, at saka yun ng, again, with all due respect and God bless his soul, pero yun yung isa sa mga disagreements ko na ni-raise ko rin dun sa aking mga conversation, dun sa ating dating presidente, no? In fact, not one president, but at least two reformist presidents had conversation with both President Aquino and President Ramos. So despite all their, good sides, I also raised some issues where I had disagreements with them. But anyway, going back to what's happening right now, nire-remind ko lang, dapat may perspective tayo, eh. Dapat may indices tayo, dapat may measurement tayo. Hindi puwede yung, for, against ka lang dahil lang kulto-kulto. Hindi puwedeng gano'n, guys. Critical thinking tayo, 'di ba? Pero critical thinking also doesn't mean banat ka lang ng banat, wala naman saysay. Or banat ka lang ng banat, wala ka naman analysis, wala ka naman perspective, wala ka naman solusyon, wala ka naman rekomendasyon, or wala kang humility na tanggapin na baka naman, hindi talaga natin alam ano yung solusyon, or talagang mahirap talagang solusyon. So ako, tanggap ko pagdating sa issue ng corruption, napakahirap at komplikadong issue na 'yan. Kaya kung pansin niyo, alam ko maraming nagagalit, hindi na dilaw but yung mga dilawan ay nagagalit sa'tin because ang sinasabi ko, ang corruption ay simptomas din ito ng mas malalim na problema. Kasama po diyan yung mga palpak na economic policies natin, kasama diyan to be more specific is wala tayong mga polisiya na sana tumulong sa ating mga industriya, sa ating manufacturing sector. Kaya nga parati ko pinapakita napaka-corrupt yung mga ibang bansa, pero dahil nag-invest pa rin sila sa manufacturing industry et cetera, kahit papaano umunlad sila, umangat-angat din sila. Again, kung ayaw niyo maniwala sa'kin, ewan ko kung saan kung ano nung vlogger or whatever, yung pinapakinggan niyo, nagpakita ako ng mga graphs, nagpakita ako ng mga indices, ipo-post ko ulit 'yan. In fact, I have now 4 graphs, not 1, looking at, for instance, yung level of corruption sa Pilipinas, at state capacity, at kung titignan mo diyan talaga, hindi exceptionally bad ang Pilipinas. We're not doing great, but we're not also exceptionally bad, right? Um So there are a couple of different graphs and all I was looking at, 'di ba? Oo. Pinost ko yung isa diyan, there was one I showed na almost exactly sa gitna ang Pilipinas, para lang ma-appreciate ng tao saan tayo galing when it comes to my analysis. Anyway, ang point ko lang is, etong issue ng corruption, napakakomplikado ito, napakadaming mga anggulo dito. Ah, Kaya nga 'pag may nakikita ka naman na kahit papaano may konting magandang galawan, kahit papaano medyo papunta na tayo sa medyo mas interesting part, kahit papaano yung mga, talagang pinakamasasamang tao na alam natin na kurakot talaga or mamamatay tayo na hugot away, ay kahit papaano they're facing some sort of justice, then let's welcome that. But that doesn't mean okey na tayo diyan. Kaya sabi ko ngayon, bantay sarado dapat bantayan natin. Sabi ko nga, bantay sandigan bayan, batisan tignan natin ba't gano'n yung mga desisyon ng sandigan bayan recently. Baka nagkakulang yung dating ombudsman, baka nga may mga kakulangan sa sandigan bayan et cetera. Kaya pinag-usapan natin ngayon ulit 'yan, 'di ba? Um, and then dito, I mean, for me to be honest, to be honest, to be honest, nag-English kaya na tayo. Nasaan isang phone ko kasi andun yung graph, eh. Iinis ako, gusto ko ilabas dito. Ah, Anyways, I'll post that later on para you can see, ibe-breakdown din natin 'yan. It's also, by the way, there sa ating Substack. I posted that about industrial policy. Although doon, hindi ko nilagay yung flag ng Philippines because I made some edited version na may flag ng Philippines. Sorry, kailangan ko ilabas talaga 'yan kasi baka sabihin niyo nag-aano lang 'to. Eto, so kung pumunta kayo sa Substack ko, eto pinost ko dito. So eto yung for instance one graph, right? Oo. So ito yung graph na 'to, 'di ba? So kung ito yung Philippines, as in literally nasa gitna siya. One is state capture, meaning yung mga batas, yung mga oligarchs nagkokontrol ng institusyon ng gobyerno. The other one is just level of corruption. Sa bawat piso na buwis, magkano napupunta sa ilang sentabo ang napupunta sa bulsa ng mga kurakot ng politiko. So if you look at here, these two indices, oligarchy capture at saka corruption, nasa gitna talaga ang Pilipinas. In fact, mas malala ang Turkey, Thailand pagdating sa state capture, even in terms of corruption. And yet, alam natin mas maunlad na bansa. So in short, anyway, ang sinasabi ko, evidence-based dapat tayo. And bakit tayo evidence-based? Kasi kung evidence-based tayo, unang-una, hindi lang tayo haka-haka, hindi lang tayo kwentong barbero. Pero mas mahalaga dyan, maintindihan natin ano yung mga coordinates of possibility. Kasi kung wala kang awareness sa coordinates of possibility, tingin mo ang Pilipinas pwede maging Norway bukas, tapos may matino kang inelect, tapos hindi naging Norway bukas, tapos magagalit ka sa kanya, tapos tatalon ka doon sa nangbubudol or sa trapo, ay may problema talaga tayo. 'Di ba? May problema talaga tayo. So, kaya yung diagnostics analysis matters, 'di ba? Now, going back to this, having said that, yes, ito yung limitasyon na nakita ko in terms of rule of law sa Pilipinas. Pero sa aking palagay, given yung evidence na nakita natin, I don't think circumstantial yan. I think it's a bit more than that. Given yung momentum, and most important, given the fact na may awareness ng taong bayan at kitang-kita natin sobrang lumala ang level ng corruption sa ating bansa. Para sa akin, guys, hindi pwede hanggang yung the ex-senator lang or yung contractor lang ay makukulong dito. Or yung isa na matagal niyang alam na baka hindi na siya safe dahil nga sa kanyang reputasyon. Parang kasalanan pa natin na may masama siyang reputation at ni-remind natin. Kaya nga may masamang reputation kasi nga ano, 'di ba? Kaya nga nagkaroon ng the good one, the bad one. But going back to this, guys, to be honest, kung by March, I would say, parang yun na lang, ihuli niyo lang yung contractor lang at saka yung I don't know, isang USEC lang or ngayon nakita ko may pasabog na baka nga yung ex-DPWH secretary, okay. And then just like one ex-senator and one sitting like, alam natin malawak 'to or siguro sa amin dalawa, tatlong congressman na hindi yan like, ay may problema talaga tayo. So as much as we should welcome, the first step in a journey of thousand miles, hindi puwede na matuwa tayo na step 3 pa lang ay magpahinga muna tayo medyo napagod. Hindi puwede yan, ipu-push natin yan guys. Kaya diyan galing sa atin dapat yung energy, yung incentive. Nung isang araw lang may hindi naman debate pero may discussion kami ukol sa there was this, case study about the case of Lagos in Nigeria about meron silang good governor, inayos-ayos. And then so what are the factors that contributed? And then kinamit yung term na political will. Like, ano 'tong political will? What do you mean? Is it political capital, meaning, marami kang suporta? Is it political pressure and incentive dahil yung mga supporters mo nagpo-pressure sa'kin? Is it a political conviction thing, meaning something moral, something that you feel, you're destined to? So masyadong ano, masyadong fuzzy, fuzzword ang, political will. So I said we have to break it down. We have to break it down. So going back to this, hindi tayo pwede umasa guys sa mga politiko to do the right thing all the time dahil marami silang babanggain kung gagawin nila yung tama. So far, ang mga binangga lang, to be honest, ay isang contractor na napaka-notorious, isang ex-senator na medyo nalaos na yung kanyang kabudutsan, at potentially isa pang senator na alam naman natin dapat hindi safe. Pero what about yung isa? Yung isa na ano, 'di ba? Alam na natin. Bakit? Nabasa ko nga wala naman ng ano, 'di ba? Or yung isa na ano, talagang daming ano, alam mo yung gano'n? Alam mo yung gano'n? Ayoko naman mag-blind item pero I think hindi naman tayo ano, 'di ba? Hindi naman tayo, pinanak kahapon. Siguro pinanak tayo before Digong, 'di ba? So, I think this is why it's very important na magkakaroon ng clear red lines ang civil society and progressives. So, salamat sa lahat ng mga ating mga kababayan, yung critical thinking na kababayan natin, mga pro-democracy, pro-reason na kababayan natin na hindi nagpabudol ulit sa mga Duterte at hindi nagpa-hijack ng ating kilusan para sa tunay na pagbabago dun sa mga budol na tunay na pagbabago. Kaya tuloy hindi na makabudots yung iba, right? Pero I think at the same time guys, dapat pag-usapan din natin ano po yung red line natin. Kung hanggang diyan lang naman yung ano, ay hindi puwede 'yan. Ay hindi puwede 'yan, hindi puwede 'yan. Hindi dahil lang takot tayo na makabalik yung mga mas masasamang tao or mas, tawagin natin na ano, hindi lang siya team kadiliman kasi yung mas madilim at mas masama, hindi puwede na ano lang tayo, 'di ba? So, this is where I'm glad na si Sir Ron and mga others are also openly saying that, yeah, at some point kailangan may ramp up. Kaya guys, yes, September nagkaroon tayo ng talagang malawakan na rally, nandun po tayo, talagang makasaysayan 'yan. Nung Nobyembre, hindi gano'n kalaki pero at least naging, pambansa, talagang across the country, yung good governance movement. Medyo ng gulo-gulo ng yung mga ka-DDS din natin medyo hindi sumablay na naman. And then may talagang gulo din nangyari dun sa ano, Menjola et cetera, na medyo hanggang ngayon may mga debate, ano ba nangyari diyan, geng-geng-gang ba 'yan or legit ba 'yan or para sa akin combination 'yan. It's always gonna become messy. Protests are messy, revolutions are messy. It's just a historical fact, right? Anyway, I had a post about that on Instagram the other day. Going back to the French Revolution and ideas of Alexis de Tocqueville about the factors that came together for French Revolution. Pwede natin puntan Russian Revolution, Chinese Revolution, whatever, Romanian Revolution. I can talk about 10 different revolutions. All of them are messy. Bad actors, good actors who became bad actors who became good actors, foreign actors, domestic actors, ancien regime. Like ex-Onshon regime, like all sorts of stuff. Idealistic people, pragmatic people, opportunistic people. Magulo po ang politika, magulo po ang revolusyon, magulo po ang protesta. Anyways, having said that, February will be very important. Because yung September, nakita natin talaga yung timbang. Talagang nakita natin yung talagang mabigat yung galit ng taong bayan dito sa issue ng corruption kasi talagang bastusan talaga eh. And dito nag-agree ako sa mga dilaw, hindi dilawan dilaw natin na kaibigan, na taming sinasabi nila, talagang demonyo yung mga kurakot dahil may mga namamatay ng kababayan natin dahil sa corruption nila sa flood control, etc. Absolutely, we're against corruption, 100%. Kaya kudos kay Heidi Mendoza, kay Chela, but that doesn't mean na hanggang dyan lang discussion natin. We have to do more, right? We have to create growth, development, etc. Kaya nga, katulad ng sinulat natin, kung walang kahirapan, 'di ba, maging mas tapat din ang gobyerno, mas kokonti rin ng corruption. Yun ang nakikita natin sa datos. Habang nagde-develop ang mga bansa, lumalaki yung middle class, tumataas yung sahod, gumaganda yung media scrutiny, nagiging more independent yung institutions, nagkakaroon ka ng tinatawag na virtuous cycle, 'di ba? So going back to this, to close this up, ang basic point ko dito guys is, nagawa na po natin yung mga rallies kung saan, ah talagang inexpress natin yung ating damdamin, yung ating galit sa sistema. Nung Nobyembre po naman, siyempre dahil nag-iisip tayo, hindi tayo nagpauto dun sa mga dark forces na gustong i-hijack yung situation para sa kanilang mga masasamang balak or agenda. Pero guys, having said all of that and having seen everything that the government has done and not done, I think by February guys, kailangan natin i-ramp up yung pressure. Kailangan talagang magkakaroon ng accountability. Hindi puwede isang ex-senator lang, isang, contractor lang or dalawa lang or isang secretary lang. Guys, kung ang pinag-usapan natin dito is ₱1 trillion of corruption, right, or billions of dollars of corruption. Kung ang pinag-usapan natin dito is multiple administration, multiple secretaries, multiple senators, multiple congressman, hindi puwede ano lang, right? Uh, so sana umuwi si Zaldico, 'di ba? Dito medyo agree ako kay Attorney Connie. Siguro mas maganda mauna muna si Zaldi. Sige, mamaya na lang si Harry. Umuwi muna si Zaldi. Although, yung kay Harry kasi mabigat din yung Pogo at saka yung mga allegations na torture and all ang ginawa ng Pogo niya, kapogo niya. Well, that's serious stuff rin, But anyway, we really need Zaldico to come back and then we need all of these people to come. Talagang para and eto, let me close on this note. Sabi nga ni Lacson, si GMRC, I mean, we have had our disagreements, but in fairness kay Senator Lacson, tama yung sinabi niya dun sa nag-e-epal na isang senador na pasang-awa naman lang naman nakapasok sa dahil kasama siya sa pamilya ng but anyway, alam niyo naman sinong epal na yan. Yung sabi nga ni Lacson, basta ako hindi fake yung mukha ko. Ang sama talaga. Ang sama talaga ng ginawa. Medyo medyo bardagol din yan si Lacson, Sir naman, si ka-GMRC natin diyan, binardagulan din niya ako, di sumagot din ako. Ako pa sabi ko, napaka-Shakespearean naman ang prose ni napakagaling naman. Alam mo yata, bully din tayo lahat, yun ang problema. Pero going back to this, nakakatuwa yung reaction nga ni Boy nga. Buti pa ni Amy Marcos. Mas alam niya sa akin sinong kakasuhan namin. Ako nga hindi ko nga alam Parang yan ang problema natin Nag-aabogado na nga siya kay Digong last year. Tapos ngayon nag-aabogado pa siya dun sa mga ibang alam naman natin na talaga may At saka, by the way, tignan din natin ano bang nito. Baka naman, di ba? So anyway, we have to set strict standards. I am against violent revolution. I am absolutely clear you cannot bomb countries into liberation. You just make things worse. I have a whole essays and all like philosophical essay and all like one by one, like John Rawls, Franz Fanon, like all of them, one by like systematically. I have a breakdown of why I'm against violent revolutions, violent protest, but civil disobedience should be an option. I think so. I think it should be an option. Kasi kailangan ma-pressure. There's yung political will na yan, it's false word. Concretely, you need to put pressure. Dapat may insentibo ang gobyerno para gawin niyang tama. At dapat may insentibo na hindi lang itong gobyerno, pero, yung susunod na presidente at administrasyon at saka yung mga gusto maging leader natin sa 2020 onwards, dapat malalaman nila, hindi ito ano lang, cyclical lang at news cycle lang at buduts ka lang dito puwede na or, maano lang si to be honest na British accent okey na. No, no, no. Dapat klaruhin natin guys, kung against talaga tayo sa corruption, hindi puwede isang rally lang tapos akala natin tapos ng usapan then uwi na tayo, hindi puwede. Kailangan ng sustained movement, kilusan ang kailangan natin guys. Pagdating sa issue ng adhikain, walang ano yan, silver bullet diyan, walang ano, shortcut diyan. So para sa akin, bantayan natin ng mabuti itong proseso na 'to at kung may kulang, may problema, 'wag lang tayong mag-rant. Kung kailangan mag-rally tayo ng big time, civil disobedience pa, go na tayo next month. Yun na yun. I'm all for civil disobedience if that's really the best way na ano, ma-pressure talaga na magkaroon tayo ng accountability dito. But I am against violent or uncivil disobedience as a matter of principle and also as a matter of historical and political analysis. Mahabang usapan yan. I can go into the details because once you introduce violence and all, you make it worse. Right? You cannot bomb countries into liberation. You cannot use violence for because what you do is you just strengthen the hand of even hawkish elements on the other side, whether domestic, international. Like, mahabang usapan yan, and believe me, I've gone through all of the philosophical, debates on this. I whether it's Hannah Arendt critic of Rawls, whether it's Franz Fanon's critic of like we can go through all of that. Wala akong problema. I've done my assignment. We can have a long debate, but civil disobedience, not uncivil, civil disobedience, non-violent civil disobedience. Yan isang bagay. Because, if we are organized and all, matatakot talaga mga trapo sa atin. Because we can paralyze the whole economy if necessary. Of course, we don't want that to happen. Dapat last resort yan. Pero at some point, guys, we have to draw the line. At dapat matakot talaga, hindi lang mga politiko ngayon, matakot din yung mga gusto maging leader natin in the future na hindi sila makakalusot at hindi nila mabuduts-buduts lang ang politika. Alright? So yes, civil disobedience should be an option. At hindi pwede yung, hindi, baka maano ng mga ano, hindi pwedeng ganun. We shouldn't be held hostage by the fear of something worse. But at the same time, I am also against violent protests as a philosophical and analytic and principled matter. If you're more interested in those kind of philosophical discussion about civil disobedience and civil disobedience, I'm happy to have a separate lecture and discussion on that. We can go one by one, like John Rawls, Hannah Arendt, Franz Fanon. I can go through all of that. We can go through the histories of civil disobedience. I can give 12 different case studies, no problem, right? I write for Journal of Democracy and other things. I've written books on populism and all of that. So these are issues very close to my heart. At the same time, malapit din sa aking puso is yung nakakapagod na yung mga kalokohan na corruption na nakikita natin sa bansa. And at some point, we have to step this up. So my suggestion is, at some point, dapat magkakaroon tayo ng understanding na we're willing to engage in civil disobedience as a way to pressure and create accountability. At isa rin sana yan, para nandito papasok yung ating Anthony Gramsci analysis, yung war of movement, war of position, war of maneuver, di ba? Etc. Yung kung anong galit natin ngayon, ano yung mga response natin sa mga corruption scandal ngayon, pwede rin natin gamitin yan as an energy to build yung ating kilusan. Kumaga, counter-hegemonic block, to use the term by Gramsci, right? So yun diba? Yun. On that note, thank you very much, guys. Maraming salamat. I'm still trying to arrange some of the interviews. Timing lang, medyo difficult right now, but hopefully you can have some of the luminaries back on this show to discuss geopolitics, international law, but also itong mga latest developments natin when it comes to accountability sa ating bansa. Magla-launch na ako, medyo late launch na ako. But here we are. I hope, kahit di pa ako kumain and all of that, I hope I got enough across, right? Kasi kanina talagang na-realize ko na lobat na talaga ako. But I hope I got enough across. And guys, okay ako. Mag-disagree kayo sa akin, wala akong problema dyan. Go ahead. We can have a discussion about that. Hindi po civil disobedience yung ginagawa ng NPA. Hindi po. Violent yun. Armas pong ginagamit. Uncivil disobedience. I'm against that. I'm sorry, I'm against that. You call me, nakakita ko may mga nagsabi, si Darian, Burgis yan. No! gamitin yung utak niyo. Tingnan niyo yung nangyari sa mga ibang bansa nung gumamit sila ng violence and all of that. And not to mention, I'll bring other elements like balance of power, whatever. It's complicated. It's a long conversation we can have separately. But given the situation right now, I am absolutely against violent protests. Absolutely. I'm against seditious actions, against anything. We cannot afford that. Our economy cannot afford that. But at least the threat of civil, not uncivil, but civil disobedience, I think it should be part of the discussion. Absolutely, 100%. And I'm willing to debate it with anyone. No problem. But in general, again, as I said, it's a discussion we should have. I'm not saying we should do it tomorrow or like February 5 or February 25 or whatever. No, I'm just saying it's a serious discussion we should have. And siguro hopefully we'll have Sir Roland also back here. Let's discuss that. Yun lang, sana hindi kami, huwag nyo naman kami red tag, guys. Ni-red tag nyo naman ako. Sabi ko, ayaw ko nga ng violent revolution and all of that eh. Ay nako. You know, we can talk about the so-called Great Revolution, whatever. Actually, the English Civil War. We can talk about that dito in the case of UK. But you know, one of the things I admire about the UK is that they got to where they were able to get. Now, but at least become the first industrialized countries, a major power, etc. Um, Not true. And yes, they had empire. They did horrible things. Given yan, but they still went towards a parliamentary democracy, and they did that without the kind of French Revolution style crazy stuff. And then you had the Russian, nasa ng Russia since the Russian Revolution. Or in China, tingnan mo naman ang state of freedom of China. I can talk about 10 other countries where they used violence, violent revolution for change. Next thing you know, they ended up with something worse. All right. But civil disobedience, right? Non-violent. Martin Luther King. Well, yes, we can have a discussion about that. All right. Although although philosophically, you could make an argument that yes, as a super last resort, not in case of the Philippines, I don't think we're there, but in some other cases, we don't need to get into specifics. Yes, certain forms of uncivil disobedience can be argued, assuming meron kang certain rules of the game. Proportionality, hindi pwede wanton lang. You cannot hurt civilians. So you know, you can actually even bring in some principles of international law on proportionality, on you know, the deliberateness, calibration, messaging, and also yung protective defense principle among others. So there's a debate also around that. But for now, looking at our case of fighting against corruption, I'll stop it there. For me, we are civil this one, maybe. Yes. All right? Okay. Before I say more, kasi komplikadong issue na yan. The more I say, baka mamaya matwist na naman ng words natin. To say that, red tag nyo pa ako of all people. Hello. On that note, thank you very much. And talk to you soon. And hopefully we can continue this kind of conversations also with other luminaries and experts. Sige na, kasama na rin si Sir Ron Ron. All right? God bless and talk to you soon. And please don't forget, of course, to follow us on